Hello, America, and welcome back to another episode of To Hear Me Tell It, the life and times of Jerry Daniels. When you've had your daily dose of today's craziness, dealing with all them Karens out there, ride shotgun with old JD as he goes back and recounts the life and times of growing up in the South during the 60s and 70s. I believe we were called baby boomers. Stories that you will say, yep, I done that, but I ain't gonna tell my kids, and I ain't never told my spouse. But whatever the truth be, it will be this, to hear me tell it.
Well, hello, folks, and welcome to a episode of To Hear Me Tell It. I'm leaning back, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I got to lean back to be comfortable here. And if I seem what more reserved, maybe it's the meds. I don't know. But I'm late. Yep. Today's Saturday, isn't it? Yeah, Saturday the 22nd. So I should have got this out. And usually I try to get them out on a Wednesday, but Wednesday I had surgery. Hence the reason I'm kind of in this position. So I had surgery, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, again, welcome to everybody. Thank y'all for joining. I appreciate all the support. Joe Stitka, and Christy, you guys have been awesome. Gunnar Snyder, appreciate y'all, man, very much, very much. Al Reader, you too. All right, so a little play catch up here. Fall's come and gone, but damn, today seems like a nice warm spring day. It's warmed up nicely. Hell, I'll look and see what the temperature is outside right now. It's 11:52 a.m. on Saturday. I know that. It's 67 degrees. 67 degrees, but the humidity's up, so it feels warmer than what it actually is. Oh, excuse me. I ain't been sleeping well either since the surgery. We'll talk about that anyway. But anyway, it's beautiful today. It rained a little bit last night and early this morning, but it is really, really pretty outside right now. And I've already let the chickens out. I let the chickens out once already, and they got out and did their chicken scratch stuff and stuff they like to do when they get outside. They was happy. And I gave them a pumpkin yesterday. This is the time you can get really good deals on pumpkins, which means I gave them their last one. So I need to go out and buy some more pumpkins to get them some more. So because they tear them up, they love them. All right, the chickens are doing well. We still average anywhere from 9 to 10 eggs every day. So, and I had another one grow broody. I think I broke her. Excuse me, y'all. Golly, Pete, I know that's rude. I'm sorry. This is not going to be a long podcast by any stretch. And I haven't been sleeping at all since this damn surgery. So, look, we'll just get through the surgery first. So, I had this elected surgery, and it needed to be done, but I had it done Wednesday this week, which was the 19th, and had it scheduled for months and months and months. And what it was is, and not to get TMI, I had an emergency appendectomy back in October of 1994 at Bethesda Naval Hospital, and I already got a whole podcast on it. I didn't do a YouTube on it because I wasn't doing YouTube back then, but I got a podcast on it where I talk about the whole in the operating room and all that stuff at Bethesda. And maybe it warrants, golly, Pete, maybe it warrants another episode. Who knows? So anyway, I had an emergency appendectomy in October of 94. And in 2018, I don't know the month, I had an event that woke me up in the dark of the night, and it felt like somebody was cutting my guts out. And my lower intestines had knotted. And that's just a lack of better words, I guess, but they weren't obstructed. Like there was nothing inside of them that had clogged them. So they weren't clogged. It's like stepping on a water hose. They were pinched, and they were pinched closed, and nothing could flow. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, that is without question the most painful thing I've ever had in my life is to have your intestines pinched off, and nothing's going, and so everything's getting blocked up, and it's the pain is absolutely indescribable. It's I got a pretty high threshold of some pain, but I mean I couldn't take that. That was brutal. Morphine couldn't take care of it. It was so damn bad. So anyway, so I had that surgery in 2018, and when they repaired it, and I mean, old boy filleted me. He cut me from, head to toe, right down the middle of my stomach, right through my damn belly button, and patched it all up, fixed it, didn't have to cut anything. None of the intestines were damaged, and everything was repaired. And so you fast forward, that was 5, 6, 7, so 7 years go by since I had this surgery. But about 2 years ago, I will say about 2 years ago, I noticed in my belly button, inside my belly button, I started getting this protrusion. Well, then it got bigger, and it got bigger to the point where it looked like the end of somebody's thumb was sticking out of my damn belly button, and it was a hernia. And when the doctor had did this work back in 2018, oh man, he wasn't able. When the doctor did this work in 2018, there was not a reliable, trustworthy least of liability. But anyway, he didn't use a mesh. So he just stitched it up and sewed it up inside, did the best he could. And then lo and behold, 7 years go by, and I'm pretty active, and I managed to herniate something, and it started protruding. And then it started getting worse. And I told my doctor one day, I said, hey man, I need to fix this. So, and I may have shared this last week, but I asked my doctor, I said, who do you recommend? He said, well, I recommend Dr. Graham. I said, okay, so he's the best guy. He said, yeah, when he's sober. I said, well, damn, Carl, who's the second best guy? He said, Dr. Graham, when he's drinking. I thought, well, I'll take Dr. Graham. So I scheduled the appointment. We did it on Wednesday, and got a much smaller incision, and he repaired it, and then he put a mesh in there. I guess they got a new mesh that's approved, so he put a mesh in there. But I'm going to tell you all right now, I am so incredibly sore. And I've seen those videos when the people, they're doing surgery, and whether it's replacing a knee or a hip or something, I'm asleep. The patient's asleep, so you don't feel this shit. But man, those I couldn't do what they do. Those doctors are rough, man. I mean, they're like shoving crap and pulling shit and poking stuff. And I can just imagine what they did in my damn stomach trying to get this mesh in there and do the repair. So they got it done. So they got it all done. And anyway, so a couple of takeaways from the surgery. And I got it done at Piedmont Hospital in Jasper, Georgia. That entire staff is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And I've been a patient 2 times at that hospital. They are really good people, and I cannot overstate that. They're really good people. So Laura takes me to the hospital on the morning of the 17th. We got to be there at 7:00. So go there, and then you check in. They ask you some questions. Excuse me, I got on again. Ask you some questions, and you sign some papers again, and get a wristband so that I'm admitted. Then I go over to the other waiting room. Then they call me, and they said, you and your wife can come on back. We go to pre-op, and then I get the instruction. You need to strip down to button naked, including taking your socks off. So you got to take everything off, and then you got to put on their socks. Now, their socks is kind of cheesy looking. They're yellow, for those yellow socks. But they was odd looking, and they didn't have really a defined heel. I don't know what that's about. I mean, why would somebody make a sock without a defined heel? So it was just a flat, sock. And on both sides, the top and the bottom, had these little white glued non-slip type things. And I thought, well, why don't they just put them on the bottom and put a defined heel, and then you would have known where they go. But I guess, I don't know, maybe that's purpose to recycle them. Hell, I don't know. But I put them on and got my little gown on. She goes, and do not tie the gown. I said, okay. She said, do you need to go to the bathroom? I said, I'll try, but yeah, I'll go. So, and I fasted for at least 12 hours prior to the surgery. And I tried that. I tried to, not too TMI here, but I tried to go to the bathroom before I went to the damn doctor. before I went to the hospital to get that out. So, and if they would have, scheduled the surgery at 10 o'clock and I'd have had 2 more cups of coffee, I'd have probably had me a good BM and it would have been a thing that have passed. But they didn't. We did it early in the morning. So I get on there and get on the table and they're coming and going, and who knows. Sorry, my phone rang, and I haven't had it on silent. But I got my wife here on the phone. So, hey, Laura, I'm in my podcast, and you're live. What's going on?
That is so not happening. All right. Check your text message, please. Love you, bye.
Okay. Yeah, that was important. Okay. So, I needed to check my text messages. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, geez. You know what? God bless her. I'm going to talk about Laura. So my wife just sitting there. I have it on silent, but if it's an emergency, she breaks all the rules, so she can come through. So at 11:53, she sends me. 11:53, she sends me, which was just not 2 minutes, 8 minutes ago. She sends me a text. Now she's right over there at the house, but she has to send me a text. And here's her text. It says, "Are you doing your podcast? I want to know so I don't interrupt you." So I don't answer the text because I got my thing turned off. But then I didn't answer the text about not being interrupted. But then she calls me and interrupts me to ask me to read my text. Go figure. All right. So, hey, I'm real. This is live and impromptu. We just go with it. So back to the surgery. So the nurse comes in there and she's asking me 6,489 and a half questions. And I answer them all. And I'm trying to be funny because I guess that's the way I deal with the whole uncomfortable thing. I try to be a little bit funny with it and whatnot. And then another woman comes in, and then another woman comes in, and then they said, your surgery scheduled for 9 o'clock. And what I wanted them to say, well, why in the hell was I here 2 hours prior? But I didn't say that. It's like saying something to a waitress or a cook that may spit in your food. I don't want to say nothing. Get the folks that's fixing to cut your ass. You don't want to get them riled up. So I'm nice. So she shaves my belly and all that shit and whatnot, and then she gives me a shot behind my left arm, and she says, "Whatever you do, don't rub it. It'll cause it to bruise." And it was some kind of blood thinner. And asked me if I consent to a blood transfusion. I said, "Well, of course I do. If y'all screw up and you cut me wrong and I'm bleeding like a stuck hog, of course I'm going to need more blood." So absolutely. Told her the blood type and then pointed at my wife and I said, "You can get some blood from her because she got the same type. And I trust her blood." So anyway. So then the nurse comes, a member of the anesthesiologist team comes over and they talk to me and told me all that kind of stuff. Asked me if I ever had a problem with, anesthesia. I said, "No, we're good, man." So then another woman comes in, and then she starts looking at my hands and patting the top of them. And she goes, "I got to find me a place where I'm going to get me an IV started. Do you care?" I said, "No, I don't care. You can do it either hand. I got 2 hands. You just pick the one you want." So she gets over here on my left hand and, and on the top of your hand, you know what I'm talking about? Let me get over here, right here on top. They're going to get an IV started in the top of my hand. And then she says, "Okay, get ready. It's going to sting." So I held my breath. I was like, I took a grunt and I went, and she's fiddle farting with it. And she's like, "You held your breath." I said, "Yeah, I did." She goes, "Well, don't hold your breath." She goes, "If you hold your breath, then the vein just collapses." I said, "Well, I wish you'd have told me that." She said, "Well, don't hold your breath." I said, "Well, you already told me that." So she goes over to the other hand and she's doing the same thing, slapping my hand. And the other lady's talking to me about something else. And they're both over there and they're kind of almost on top of each other. And so I think it was either the third or the fourth time. "Now, don't hold your breath." I said, "But you didn't tell me that." She said, "So when I get ready to stick you just make sure you breathe real normal." I said, "I got it." And see, I would have had it the first time had she shared that with me. That was a data point I didn't get. I can follow instructions, but don't stick me with a damn needle. My vein collapsed, and then you give me a damn lecture about, "Well, you held your breath." I'm like, "Well, you didn't tell me not to. If you'd have told me not to, I wouldn't have done it." So she's over here on my left hand now. And she says, "You ready?" I said, "Yeah, I'm ready." She goes, "Don't hold your breath." I go, "I got it. Don't hold my breath." She goes, "Breathe." I said, "I'm breathing, man." And she gets it in there and starts digging around and pokes it. I said, you got it? She goes, yeah. I said, see, that was easy. Just tell me all the things I need to know. And it would have been easier. So anyway. So then somebody else comes in. His name's Tyler. So Tyler comes in, and he's like a member of, he's the junior league anesthesiologist. He's asked me a bunch of questions and stuff, and we're going over it and stuff like that. And then, and I guess I forget what time it was, but come time, you got to go. I said, all right. So they tell my wife, they said, well, you know, the doctor will come out and find you out there in that waiting room and let you know how it all went. He could come out there 30 minutes or an hour, hour and a half after it's over with. I don't know. It depends on how long before he wakes up. I said, okie dokie. So next thing I know, Laura leaves. I go down the hall, and then I'm in the OR, and you go in there, and they push the door open with the gurney thing. Boom! They hit the doors, and doors fly open. Go in there, and I'm good morning, good morning, surgery team, and they're all turning around, looking at me, and they laughing and joyful. And I thought, I thought I said, I didn't thought nothing. I said, woo, son. I said, y'all can hang meat in here. It's so damn cold. And they're all like, I know. One woman said, well, I think it's a little warm. I said, there's something wrong with you. You might want to talk to my wife because she got that same problem, which is going to be my next topic. So anyway, I'm razzed. I'm like, damn, guys. I said, it's cold in here. They're like, yeah. And I said, well, you know, they pulled me right up next to the table, not the rolling thing, the show enough operating table. I said, you want me to jump over there? And she said, well, you don't need to jump. I said, well, you need to get me over there, right? I said, I can get over there. I said, I'm fine. So I get my ass over there, and next thing you know, choom, choom, you know, they get both your arms out. And I guess somebody's claustrophobic or not accustomed to being held down. Not that I've been accustomed to holding down, but anyway. Next thing I knew, my left arm's out there and being strapped to some damn thing sticking out of the side of the table, and all of a sudden, boom, my right arm's over here, and I thought, shit, ain't nothing I can do. My damn. And then he put those big compression sleeves on both my legs. I guess they're going to squeeze and get all the blood to go up to the top of my body. It's like a pilot's G-suit. I remember putting them things on my legs, and I thought, okay, we're getting on up here, ain't we? And then the anesthesiologist is talking to me, and I said, we're going to be going soon? He said, oh, yeah. He says, I'm fixing to give you the good stuff. And that's all I remember is him saying, I'm fixing to give you the good stuff. And I remember putting a little, thing on me. He said, this is just oxygen. I thought that, I'm going to tell you all right now, I think that was a lie. That wasn't just damn oxygen. He put that sumbitch on my face, and as soon as I took about 3 or 4 breaths, I felt different. So, and then he asked me, he's standing right over me. He said, now I'm going to give you the good stuff. And then next thing I knew, somebody's patting my face. Hey, Mr. Jerry, you with us? I said, yeah, I'm with you. And instantly, my first thought that came to my head was, oh, motherfucker. I could say, I can't cuss, but like, son of a bitch, boy, my stomach's hurting. I'm like, I reached down there and I thought, whew, that's sore. That's going to leave a scar. And anyway, so she said, need anything? I said, you got any ice or something to drink? She goes, yeah. I said, well, I'll take that. So, and within 15, 20 minutes, Laura comes in. And she's joking. She said, did he say anything that I need to know? I said, I ain't say nothing about you. I told that woman in the operating room she's got the same problem you got about the hot flashes. So anyway. So here it is. The day is the 22nd. So the surgery was on the 19th. So TMI. By yesterday noon, I had quit taking all the pain pills, and I'm gonna tell y'all right now. And I had eaten. I ate on the 18th, and in a way I ate on the 19th twice. I ate on the 20th. I'm sorry, I ate on the 20th, and by late the 20th, I called the hospital and said, "Hey guys, I got a problem." Like, what? I said, I ain't shit since I got home. I said, and I am dying. I said, the pain is amazing. I said, and I ain't farted. I looked up all the different words for fart. I even wrote them down. I got them right here on my phone because I was trying to figure out what would be the nice word to say instead of say fart to a nurse that I really don't know. Here they go. I got them wrote down. I ain't passed gas, haven't flagellated, pooted, tooted, crop dusted, aerated, cheek dusted, cut one, cut the cheese, rip one, butt puff, or ass vent. I hadn't done any of those things. I got them right here. Right there they are. You can see them? There they are. So I come up with all these different words for fart. And I thought, I'll just cut to the chase. So I told her, so I ain't farted. I said, I haven't farted. I ain't taking a crap. And really a decent one since damn Tuesday. I said, and today's Friday the 21st. I said, and I'm hurting. I'm hurting. I'm sorry, the 20th. The 20th. And no, Friday the 21st. That's right, Friday the 21st. So she's like, well, you know, have you quit taking the meds? I said, yeah, I know the meds got something codeine in it or codone or whatever, hydrocodone or something. I said, I ain't take that shit in 24 hours. I said, man, I have taken every stool softener known to man. I've drank Michelmagnesia till I'm and I already thrown up twice taking so much crap. She said, well, you need to get you some warm prune juice and mix it with the Michelmagnesia, make you a hot toddy, a prune juice and Michelmagnesia. And my first thought was, well, my friends Bill Amos, Todd Smith, and Larry Kirksey, would they drink one of these? But anyway, so I made one of those, drank that, and by 9 o'clock at night, there was no relief. I ain't slept at all, and none of these nights. Just lay there in pain. And by 9 o'clock, I looked at my lovely bride. I said, baby, you got to go to Walmart. She goes, why? I said, I hate to do this. I said, but we got to do an enema. Oh, it hurts to laugh. She said, what do you mean we? I said, well, let's just start with we, but first of all, you got to go get one. So she goes, well, bring it up on the damn Walmart shopping page and take a picture of it. So I had to find one, take a picture of it, give it to her. I said, go get a couple of these. So that's the love of a wife. So at 9 o'clock at night, my wife gets dressed, goes to Walmart to buy damn enema for me. She comes back and she says, you need help with it? I said, no, I'll get through this by myself. I got some dignity here. She said, well, I'll help you. I said, no, I don't want you to help me. I'll do it on my own. And I did. So I'm back there in the damn bathroom. I know this is TMI, y'all. I'm back there in the bathroom, and I'd already shared with my buddy Larry Kirksey that it may come down to this, because we talk a lot, me and my friends. And I'd already shared with Larry. I said, Larry, I'm dying, man. I said, this may come down to a damn enema. And I said, and Laura has no idea. So I started laughing it up. I said, yeah. I said, if Laura's going to help me, I said, we're probably going to do it on the back porch. I said, I'm going to have to bend over the damn railing on the back deck, butt naked. And she's going to shove that thing up my ass and then liquefy. And then I'm going to have to holler, tell her to run. Oh, man, run, Laura. And then, anyway, it didn't come to that. So I'm back there in the bathroom, y'all. I know y'all sitting there going, Jerry Daniels is on podcast telling everybody about this. So I managed to get through 2 complete them thingamajiggers. And I'm holding it. Oh, my gosh. And this is the funny part. So that my wife is obliged to start screaming, not screaming, but she's hollering loud enough because she knows I'm back there and I can't hear her. But she's communicating shit tips. That's what I call them. Shit tips. Like, be careful not to bear down too hard. She says, oh, and if you start going to the bathroom, make sure that you flush halfway through. And I thought, why is that relevant? Why does she need to tell me? She's another damn part of the house. I'm back here trying to deal with all this, but she's giving me shit tips as if, I don't know how to do it. So I'm hollering. I said, I've managed multi-million-dollar ship projects. I've managed hundreds of sailors. All the stuff I've managed in my life, I think I can manage giving myself an enema and get through this without making a mess. And I did just fine. So, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, not a whole lot happened. I thought it was going to be like some kind of instant relief. And basically, within, 10 minutes, I had basically gotten rid of all that water. And I thought that was it. That was just water. Didn't do nothing. Not to me. But the next day, it was hallelujah, and I was praising Jesus, and we had Houston, we had liftoff, and it was good stuff, man. So anyway, so I'm recovering from this surgery. My stomach's all bloated still, and I'm wondering, it's got to be from the bruising and whatnot. I got big bruises on the front of my stomach, all around my belly button, and it's so sore. Man, is it sore. So got past all that. All right, so here's really the topic of the damn podcast, which I thought about this last week. Laura and I went somewhere last week, and it was a cool day. It was probably in the 40s, and we dressed appropriately because we're going to be outside briefly. And she's got on jeans. Oh man, I'm sorry, y'all. She's got on jeans. And I got on jeans and a nice hoodie shirt and whatnot and a t-shirt. But she's got on her jeans, she's got on her LL Bean boots, and she's got on a t-shirt, and she's got on a flannel shirt, and gets all ready to go. And we get in a truck, y'all, and we don't get damn 5 minutes down the road, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. She goes, we got to turn around and go back. I said, well, why? She says, I'm hot. I said, well, let me open the windows, because I had the windows up, and it was still 40-something degrees. I said, well, let me open the windows. So I let down the windows, and I said, there, how's that? She goes, no, that's not working. I said, well, she goes, it's hot. And she starts pushing buttons and start fiddle farting with my damn air conditioner. I said, what are you doing? She goes, I'm turning the AC on. I said, Laura, it's 40-something degrees outside, and I got the windows down. Well, I'm hot. We got to go back. I said, for what? She goes, I got to take these clothes off. I said, well, maybe it'll pass. You're just having a hot flash. Well, evidently that's not the thing to say, because then I got my damn head ripped off. And then I said, well, wait a minute. And then she starts, telling me, you don't know what it's like to have a hot flash. I said, well, don't you just get hot? She said, no, you don't know what it's like. It's like cooking from the inside. I said, well, ain't neither one of us ever been cooked, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I said, but what do you, and she's like, you don't understand, it's heat, it's from the inside, it's from the inside out, and all this kind of shit. And she goes, you're a man, you don't know what a hot flash feels like. I said, well, maybe I don't, but I know what it feels like to be hot. And that was not the thing to say either. I said, well, just hang tight, we'll get to where we're going. I said, we'll be outside and you'll be fine. No. Y'all, I had to turn around and go back to the damn house. I pull in front of the driveway. I don't even pull into the garage. I just pull in front of the driveway, hit the unlock button, and she takes off running. And she comes back. And she's got on a much lighter shirt, only one layer, and a jacket. I said, well, why are you wearing a jacket? She goes, because it's cold. I said, all right. So you took off a shirt and a flannel shirt, you put on another shirt, but you put on a jacket because it's cold. She goes, yeah, but when we get where we're going, I don't want to get too hot. I said, well, is your hot flash passed? She goes, it wasn't a hot flash. I go, well, then what the hell was it? She goes, I was hot. I said, all right, forget it. So I just, okay, whatever. Anyway, so all that's done. All right, that's all I got, folks. It's 27 minutes into this. I am so incredibly tired. I am. I've got to go take a nap because there ain't been no sleeping. There has not been any sleeping. And they got that, a lot of hospital beds have that little pull-down ring. You need one of those. I wished I had one right now. I need to have an eye bolt in my ceiling with a ring, because I can't get in and out of bed when you've had stomach surgery. You use your stomach muscles for everything. I don't care if it's to blink, to breathe, to scratch your ear. It don't matter. Use your damn stomach muscles. And God forbid you get something caught in your throat. You have to, like right there, that hurts like hell. Or you sneeze or you cough, or you talk to my buddy Larry and we got to laugh so hard it like to kill me anyway. So, there we go. That's it. I'm home. I recovered from surgery, and I'm late on the podcast. I'm sorry. So I could talk a lot about politics. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just kind of falling a little bit. But, what's the news headline right now today? Oh, my gosh, Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's going to resign from Congress. I don't know all the details about that. I do care, but if it gets into that drama stuff, then I don't care. Best I can tell is she wanted to throw her hat and run for Senate. and then Trump didn't give her the right endorsement or something and pissed her off, and she said something, he said something, and then anyway, who knows? And that's it, folks. I keep looking over here because I can see me over there, but I need to leave looking over there because that's where the camera is. Y'all have a blessed day. Let me see. Thanksgiving is Thursday. So I'll try to do an update podcast and YouTube either Tuesday or Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And we'll just talk about things we had to be grateful for. I guess that's a good topic for Thanksgiving, right? Joe Stitka, thank you for calling and checking on me. Mike Posey says they still got gnats in Potterville, Georgia. So I can't believe it. It's November the 22nd. And Mike Posey gives me my Middle Georgia gnat update. He says they still got gnats. Hence is one of the reasons I don't live down there, because them damn gnats. So that's it. Y'all be safe. Bicycle, and we'll talk to y'all next week.